What's up? I just wanted to do another video. There's a trunk in my apartment in Esplanade that is full of photos. Photos that my father has taken, some photos that my mom has taken, some photos that I have taken, but it's full of actual like film photos. And so, you know, if you ever wondered why, so for people that do know my music, oftentimes I would put like baby pictures or that sort of thing on the projects, like on Love and Other Struggles. The reason why is because like I have all these photos, and I honestly always felt awkward about doing things like this, like standing in front of a camera, you know. So I kind of used the excuse of these photos that I had to you know, to do that. Also a friend of mine, well, I guess maybe I'll tell you that story later. Yeah, so this is Ian Kamau. I've now reached about 150 backers on the Kickstarter. So thank you for everybody who has pledged to the Kickstarter so far, and by extension pledged to the project, and by extension pledged to myself and these kind of related projects that I want to do. In the last about week and a half after the big blasts of the first weekend, and you know, me blasting everybody's social media, I've just been sending individual messages to individuals or to small groups of people, you know, just one, kind of just making them aware of the fact that I'm wanting to do another project, both this album and this magazine project. And two, asking if people can pledge to the Kickstarter if they do in fact have the means to do so. Yeah, so I just thought I'd let you know that that's kind of what I've been doing. I've been trying to leave people alone a little bit on social media and not, you know, go overboard in terms of the big public stuff. But I have been sending messages to individual people and to small groups. Today I'm going to Chatham, Ontario. Area about 3 hours from Toronto. It's about 15 minutes from a predominantly black farming town called North Buxton that my parents did a film about in 1987 or 1988. I think it's 1987. Let's say it's 88. And you know, I maintain a connection with some of the people that are there, and my friend Kara Eastcott is doing an exhibition there, which some of you may have seen on my social media. I went maybe a month ago, 3 weeks or a month ago, to Chatham to this art exhibition that my parents' film was screened at. So my parents, the film is called Home to Buxton. It is about the area that I'm going to today. I'm going to be sleeping in North Buxton tonight at my friend Chris Prince's house. Prince is one of the members of the Prince family that the film follows. And Kara is screening the film Home to Buxton tonight, so I'm just going there to represent my mom and my dad, and you know, just to be there in the community in Buxton. So yeah, I'm going to be taking the train there this evening. But I thought, since I was like going through photos now, just to get together some of the stuff that I've been wanting to do on my Instagram, I thought that I would show you some of the photos that I've been kind of coming up upon in this process of going through. I don't know how many photos are there, probably a couple thousand, to be honest. It's a whole trunk full of photos. So yeah, I want to start with this one. This is a picture that I think my father took of my half-sister. Her name was Roxanne. Unfortunately, Roxanne, she passed away a couple of years ago in 2016. I didn't meet her until I was 16 because I went to Trinidad when I was a kid, but I didn't remember those trips. And my grandfather, my father's father, passed away when I was 16, and that was the first time I went to Trinidad that I can actually remember. But before that, this was the only picture that I had of her, and it was framed in my apartment when I was young. So I always had this, you know, sister that I knew was on this island that I had never really remembered being to, that I know I had met when I was a kid, but I hadn't met as well. I was an adult. I was 16. So this was that picture. This is a picture of her again from the trip that I made when I was 16 or 17. I took this picture. I think this is in Trin City, close to where she lived in Trinidad. And so this is really the first time that me and her got a chance to spend any great deal of time together, because she was always in Trinidad and I was always here. There's a song that I did after she passed away called The Ocean Between Us on my Bandcamp that you can listen to. I think this is somewhere around the same time. This is my cousin Gabre and myself and my Aunt Dion, who lives down the hall now. She helps to take care of my dad. On a beach, I think this is La Lune in Moruga in the south of the island. It's a fishing village in the south of Trinidad. If you just were to turn in this direction and on a clear day, like this day looked to be a clear day, you could actually see Venezuela. That's how close it is. But this is in Trinidad. Here's some pictures of me and Esplanade, or me in this apartment, right? So this first one, like if you see where the rocking chair is, this is me, I don't know, maybe like 7, 8 years old, sitting on the couch. So if you see where the rocking chair is, that's where I'm sitting right now. I've lived in this apartment since I was about 5 years old. And I think about 15 years ago, my mom moved to Philadelphia and I stayed in the apartment. So this has been my apartment since I was a kid, even though I live here on my own now. And this is on the floor of this same apartment in Esplanade. That's my dad. There's a song on One Day Soon called Yesterdays. And it talks about my father tying my laces. It talks about both of my parents, but it kind of weaves between my mother and the hibiscus flowers and her pressing them in the bookshelves, and then to my father who tied my laces. And when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about this picture in particular. So there's that. Here's one that I don't think anybody has seen before. These are my great-grandmother and my grandmother. This is my mother's mother, and this is her grandmother, my great-grandmother. I think this is the first time that I went to Trinidad when I was a kid. So if I had another, I mean, I do have other pictures, but if I had another picture, the picture that would be here would be me and my mom. But that's her mom and her mother's mother in Trinidad, probably in like 1980. So there are those. This is me in Esplanade sometime in the maybe the 80s. I look like I'm like 8 or 9 years old. So this is the park next to my building in Esplanade. Let's see. Oh, I guess I should. This is a trip I took to New York with my father sometime in the mid-90s. Well, I shouldn't say sometime. It was September. So I turned 18 in the Blue Note nightclub. If people know the Blue Note nightclub and the Blue Note record label that like released, I think, Miles Davis and some of those people. Well, me and my father had decided that for my 18th birthday, he was going to take me to New York for the same time, because I was obsessed with like Linden Boulevard and Tribe Called Quest and Queens and all kinds of stuff. And so my dad took me to New York for my 18th birthday, and we decided that we were going to try to have me turn 18 in a significant place. And so I turned 18 in the Blue Note nightclub in New York, the famous jazz club. It's kind of a cool story to tell. This is me. This is me in the Mandem. So this is like probably around high school times or just after high school. These are all the guys that I really started doing music with. That's Danilo, who's sitting there with the drum. Danilo McDowell-McCallum, who people may know from Black Futures Month, and as a painter and a muralist and that sort of thing. One of my best friends. Well, all of these people are some of my best friends. That's Paul Andre right next to me, also a music maker and a producer. And right next to me is Kenny Neal. I made my first beats with Kenny Neal. We all went to Oakwood Collegiate together in the mid-90s. So that's us. This is me and Danilo on stage somewhere. There used to be a spot across from the art gallery we would do shows at, open mics and whatever. This is in front of Oakwood Collegiate. This is Oakwood Collegiate front steps. So you can see Paul Andre there with his elbow on my shoulder. I think that's Kenny Neal behind me. I see a Joa Kutan. I see Howie Crawford. I see Akil Cooper Powell, who is Afua Cooper's son, who was a close friend of mine when we were in high school. Right below me, you know, with his hand on his chin, you know, like doing the I don't even know what to call that pose, but black people know that pose. That's Assad, when his name was still Sean Douglas. And a bunch of, I see Toshiba Billings there, a bunch of other people. This is where we used to hang out, on the front steps right at the corner of Oakwood and St. Clair at Oakwood Collegiate. That's the high school that I went to in Toronto. So there's that high school. This is myself and Kevin Brereton, otherwise known as Chaos, and Paul Andre again on a ferry somewhere between Vancouver and Victoria, I think, when I used to open for Chaos in the early 2000s. So this is probably like 2002, 2003 possibly. I was touring across the country and through Europe opening for Chaos. So this is us chilling on the ferry. And in the process of doing those shows, I think this is probably one of those shows, maybe in Vancouver. In the process of doing those shows, I would also meet like people that I went to high school with, or people that I was going to school with or whatever, because I think 2 years into university at that stage in the game. And I don't know if you can see this properly, but that's Jama Mashlalela of Raptors fame. I think he was an assistant coach or something of the Raptors, who I went to high school with. He was like the student body president, and I was the president of the Black Students Association, but I think he's a year younger than me, but we went to high school together. So I'm pretty sure this is in Victoria, maybe Vancouver. He went to UBC, and so he came to the show that we were doing out there, and this is us just kind of like chilling after. Okay, that took longer than I expected it to take, but it's all good. So yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Ian Kamau. I'm gonna try to put some more of these photos up over the next 2 weeks, just like, you know, telling more stories about life and the album covers and music stuff and that sort of thing. Again, I'm gonna try to make a very hard push in the last 7 days. I would really appreciate if people help me do that as well. The last 7 days of the Kickstarter. I'm right in the middle of the Kickstarter right now. So as of today, it's 15 days left until it goes up. So there's still another 2 weeks to pledge. To, if you want to increase your amount, I'll post something that talks about how you can do that. And I mean, really, if you just want to share it with people and that sort of thing, it would be appreciated. This is now a 13-minute video, so I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much, and I'll talk soon. Peace.